Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I am your host, Mike Veerman, and I am here with my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman. Max, what's going on?
Well, we just finished an interview that will probably be airing in a few weeks.
In a later episode.
We won't even tell you who it is.
There's a tease for you.
But yeah.
Speaking of interviews, today on the show, we are talking to Jared Keeso and Nathan Dales from television's Letterkenny. It's on the Comedy Network. It's on CraveTV.
That's right. Shane was very happy because in preparing for the interview, we were talking about what kind of questions to ask, and I kiboshed one of the questions that Shane had suggested.
That is true.
And the question, do you have aspirations to work in Hollywood and to
be successful in like mainstream American films?
Yeah. And I said, don't ask them that question because people ask the band that question. It's like, do you wish you were a big American band? And the answer is like, yes, of course we wish we were massive in USA. But I feel like it's like an obvious question that most Canadians don't like to answer. Turns out he brought it up himself.
Yeah.
And it was like, I hate Hollywood. I have no interest in moving to America for the sake of my career. And I just love being a proud Canadian TV star.
We'll get to those guys later. But speaking of America, Max, you just got back from New York City.
Yeah. So I mentioned this in an earlier podcast. It was December 24th, and I didn't have a Christmas gift for Lauren, my girlfriend. And so I just started frantically Googling flights to somewhere cheap. And the thing about New York is that you can find a reasonably priced airplane trip, and you can use points. I said airplane trip.
Airplane trip? You going on a lot of airplane trips?
I go on a lot of airplane trips. And if you use points and stuff, it sounds just as glamorous as Paris, LA, London, all the great cities of the world.
But it's only 45 minutes away.
Only 45 minutes away. Lauren is a student and has no money, so and the dollar is really bad. Oh. So this was a very expensive trip, and I realized if I just spent a little bit of time on December 23rd and just bought her a nice $70 gift, then I could have avoided this $900 2-day trip to New York City. And the dollar, as I said, is terrible. But we had a great time.
I saw that you went to a Brooklyn Nets game.
I know. So get this. So the promoter the band has in New York is this label company called Communion, and it's started by Ben from Mumford & Sons.
Okay.
And it's very sort of homegrown. They have a really cool office in Brooklyn. There's 10 people. It's it's not like a big conglomerate Live Nation. No disrespect to Live Nation. We've worked with them before too. Great company. But it's cool because it really feels like a family business on a certain level. And super nice guys. And I hit them up and I was like, hey, I'm in Brooklyn. Are you guys around? Do you guys want to go to a show or something? And I mentioned that I was going to a Brooklyn Nets game. And my man Tyler at Communion said, I used to work at Barclays. I'll get you some tickets. So it was awesome. We went to go hang out, and I got to sit in a suite at the Barclays Center.
Those were the tickets they got you?
They got us, suite tickets with free booze and stuff.
Oh my goodness!
I know, we were totally spoiled. It was amazing.
Care of.
I know.
Did you guys get loaded?
We did not, because Lauren's had this eye issue where she has to cut a lot of stuff out of her diet. So it was not a boozy trip at all. It was very much just walking around. We ate a lot. It was really good. There's so much good food in New York City.
Right.
When you were there a couple weeks ago, was it a boozy trip? Does Danica like to booze? Get
we partied. We had fun.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we went to a speakeasy that was
Really?
hidden behind. We went all over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was telling you about that crazy play, Sleep No More, where it was simulated orgies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had a few drinks before. We didn't join in any of these simulated orgies.
Well, that's what you're telling me on air, but who knows?
But because you didn't have a very boozy trip, Max, is this why when you got back into town, you went whole hog on Saturday night?
Kind of. This seems to happen to me sometimes because, as we've talked about on this show before, I'm not really much of a drinker. There's something very nice about just waking up with a clear head and getting work done. I love that. But I got an email from our friend Dan Hamilton on the Saturday, and we were coming back on the Saturday. So as we mentioned on other episodes, we have this Facebook group called the Champagne Boys. I don't know if I'm supposed to be telling you that, where everybody sort of gets excited to see each other. There's about 20 guys in this group, and we all plan group activities. It's a little clubhouse, and we're a bunch of 9-year-olds or something.
Very fun.
So Dan writes me on Saturday at 11:55 a.m. He just writes, when you get off that bus from the airport, just Uber to 568 King Street East. There's going to be 12 champagne boys there drinking, pool, and shuffleboard. Who knows where we'll stumble next?
Did you know where you were going though?
No, well, I was like, what the hell? 560? I didn't recognize that address. So I had no idea where we were going. And then I kind of figured out there's a lot of group messages that the guys were going curling. And I don't really have any interest in curling, but I was like, this sounds kind of funny to me. And then he responds again. He goes, just a reminder, here's the crew. It's an all-timer. Dan is so good at setting up these events. Me, Birch, Dees, Izzy, Peak, Jay, Mikey V, Julian, Psycho, Jug, Brody, Bram Blanchard, and Sean Dawes meeting after, and Sean did not show up.
He did not show up. He stayed in and did like facial masks with his girlfriend.
Yeah, we saw that on the internet. So anyway, we got to the curling place and we tied one on.
Yeah, we went curling.
Yeah, and the night ended with us going through SNL performances.
You have like 2 years of SNL's PVR'd on your DVR or whatever, on your Bell 5.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, oh, you remember that performance? And it's like, oh, remember that? It's like, oh man, did you see Chance the Rapper? And it's like, oh, did you see One Direction?
Yeah, I feel like Saturday night was this big coming out party for Chance the Rapper. We were just all loving Chance the Rapper.
We love Chance.
Because he performed on Kanye's SNL performance and he had his own thing a few weeks before.
Yeah.
I'm like, Chance is the coolest guy maybe in the world right now.
He was awesome. That performance specifically that I showed you drunkenly at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like I was saying.
Like you were doing that thing where the thing about you, Mike, when you're drinking is that I love you as a storyteller, right? I love when you can consume a room and you can start telling a story and everybody locks in immediately. You're like one of the only people that can do that I know. And you'd go, all right, guys, here's the thing. And I knew you had an idea, but you couldn't finish it. and then it's like the thing, he's empathetic. And you're like, who are you talking about? It's like, and then you'd be like, here's the thing. Oh, and you kept on starting the story. You'd get about 10 seconds in and then you would lose your train of thought and then start from the beginning.
Oh, that means I'm broken.
Yeah.
At that point, you just need to put me to bed.
Well, you put yourself to bed. Yeah. You were sitting on the end of the couch. I was sitting on one end. You're on the other end, and then you fell asleep. I had the bed upstairs ready for you in my guest room, but then you just tucked yourself in on the couch.
Once it shuts down, you're not moving me.
No, no way.
I feel like
if you do try to move, you usually get woken up and you just smile a little bit, and you're like, hey, and then you just close your eyes again.
So we watched a lot of great SNL performances.
Did you see the 1975 performance?
I did.
Okay, what do you make of those guys? As someone who doesn't pay that close attention to up and coming bands, what do you make of them?
I felt like it wasn't for me. Felt very affected in I think there's lots of great performers Lady Gaga or David Bowie. Obviously, they're both on my mind from that Grammys thing, but. Who are performers? Freddie Mercury is very demonstrative, and you know what I mean. There's Mick Jagger's very demonstrative. That guy, I just wasn't buying it. I wasn't picking up what he was putting down. It just felt affected. It felt like a cover of something, but that's my opinion.
Here's the thing. My normal inclination would be to totally agree with you because there's something about him that it seems kind of put on and super over the top.
Yeah.
But there's nobody really doing that right now.
Yeah, there's a void to be filled.
Yeah, and I like the fact who in out of all the people SNL might possibly invite to perform on the show, which means because they only choose from a certain cast of cool, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that 1975 is definitely in that conversation of cool enough to be on SNL. But the fact he's wearing leather pants and
no shirt,
blazer,
yeah.
and he's sort of he looks like he's from 1973 or something. I feel like no one else is doing it, and I feel like he's filling a void that I weirdly miss because normally I don't like that kind of that sort of performance art, but I'm kind of into it now.
Who's the band? People Change.
Oh, Future Islands.
I feel like they were doing a more interesting to me an authentic version of kind of that really affected performance with kind of more derivative music
yeah,
no, you know what I mean?
True, for sure. But the reason why that guy gets away with it because he's old and he's a high school teacher and those dudes are in their mid 40s and from Baltimore. These guys are just quintessential London British kids.
Yeah.
And I've also read a bunch of interviews with him and he just says totally outlandish stuff and is very self-assured and likes to stir the pot a little bit in the press. He plays that game in a way that most rock bands really don't do anymore.
Sure.
I feel like back in the 90s, everyone was just talking shit, and
Yeah.
now nobody likes to talk shit.
Yeah, maybe there is a void for sort of outrageous, demonstrative frontmen.
Yeah, there's nobody. I think
Or
rock
front
and roll
people.
is generally like pretty polite and conservative these days when it comes to like cool rock, at least. And he's sort of like harkens back to another time. So I liked his performance.
You dug it.
And Dan Hamilton is now totally in on the 1975. That's a band right up Dan Hamilton's alley.
Hey, they could win me over. I'm just saying, it felt a little affected to
Yeah,
me.
I know, and it is, but there's something to it.
Today on the show, Max, we got Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Jared Keeso or Keso? Keeso.
I don't know.
It's Keeso.
Keso?
Shane just arrived, by the way.
Shane just arrived and corrected me. It's Jared and Nathan from Letterkenny.
Let's get to it.
Let's do it.
I wanted to start with you, Jared, because you created this show.
As far as like creators go, like it was based on like an anonymous Twitter account from back home in Listowel, Ontario. My best pal since I was 3-4 years old, Jordan Behrens, and I started this anonymous Twitter account. And then I thought that I could rebrand it as Letterkenny, film it, and it would work. But of course, we'd have to blow our covers. That the people back home would know that we were the ones writing listy problems, all the problems that face people in our small town. And so we were prepared for it to backfire, but it didn't. It turned out to be pretty fruitful for us. So yeah, Jordan Behrens would be the creator, but Jacob Tierney is who I write it with, and he directs and acts in it as well.
Yeah. Okay, so this friend of yours that you grew up with, how does he sort of like, is he seeing all the success? What are his thoughts? Is he like, this is pretty cool? Or
Yeah. He thinks it's pretty awesome. I put him in the show as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did he want to be a part of it? Or
Yeah. I put him in the show. You know, I don't want to give too much away, but you know, you get an opportunity like this, you know, to be at the helm of something, and you think, you know what, like, what should I do with this opportunity? Certainly I can do something fun, and for me that's just like really embarrass like two of my best buddies, you know. So I brought them in like a pretty humiliating situation, but they were all for it. They loved it.
who does he play?
He plays Boots.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's something that's it's kind of an ongoing theme throughout the entire thing, but we don't see them until towards the end.
So this is all based on sort of like that Twitter account, the problems that were facing that town. Once this became sort of a show, where did you get the characters from?
I guess I draw from experiences back home in Listowel, but I grew up playing hockey, you know, all around Ontario, so I've been in every small town in Ontario, Dashwood, Exeter, Blythe, Zurich, everywhere, you know, so I kind of draw from everywhere, but I guess, you know, like when we shot it, Dalesy and I had been throwing stuff up on YouTube for a couple years at that point, just trying out different concepts and seeing what people would get behind. So when every time I do this with Dalesy, like I don't tell him what to do, I just hand him the script, and then any other actor that we have in a YouTube sketch, I don't tell them what to do, I just hand them the script. So that's all on Dalesy. He created that character.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I agree, that's what I was going to ask next. So Nate, how did you get involved initially?
Jared and I had been doing stuff together for about we now been work at the time when Letterkenny, when we first shot the first the web episode. I think this was about 2 years ago when it came up. We'd been doing stuff together, like other sketches, for a little bit before then. So maybe about a year and a bit before then, and so we just did a kind of It started out with a mutual love of the Calgary Flames. Actually, that's how we started working together, and then so we just thought some things might be funny, and then pardon me.
No, you can swear.
Sorry. We're gonna film these things that we think are gonna be funny. Hopefully, people grab onto them, and they did a little bit for our other sketches, and then Jared came at me with this Letterkenny problems, and he said, "Do you want to try this out?" I was like, "Of course, I want to try it out. Like, you know, we have so much fun working together anyway." And then so we did it, and then. You never really know what's going to hit, and then this one just kind of hit, and it stuck, and people really grabbed onto it. So it was just, yeah.
Calgary Flames fans?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Theo Fleury? Big Theo Fleury guys?
Yeah. Love Theo Fleury.
Yeah. My brother's a massive Theo Fleury guy.
He's a legend.
He is a legend.
Legend.
Laney McDonald with the big old mustache.
Laney
Yeah, that's
Joel Otto, Joe
Hey, there you
Mike
go.
Vernon, all the
Mike
boys in
Vernon,
there.
Show me Mike Vernon.
Yeah.
They have a serious problem in Calgary, though, or they used to, not so much anymore, of running goaltenders out of town. Mike Vernon, as much as people loved him towards the end, they ran him out of town with a lot of
He
booze.
won a cup in Detroit.
I know.
Good on him.
And then Roman Turek Turk was very close after him. Not a lot of people remember Roman Turk because he was awful by the end. They ran him out of town too. But I like Mike Vernon.
Tough town for goalies.
Yeah, Mike Vernon's in a different conversation, right? Mike Vernon's in a conversation with like Patrick Waugh, Andy Moog. He really is. Roman Turk's in a conversation with like Peter Ing and Alan Bester. You know what I mean? Like they
Alan Bester. Through the legs of Alan Bester was like a big line when I was growing up.
How dare you throw an Alan Bester right now?
They never really got...
Did Vernon won the ring in '89? Was that the...
Yes.
Yeah, Vernon was in there in '89, and then he won it again with Detroit too. So you're correct. Roman Turk does not belong in the same category.
No.
However, he does belong in the same. Did you run them out of your town? And the answer is yes. Well, put these two bastards next to each other then.
Right.
I mean, you know.
Look, now that we've clarified it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Done. That's good.
Sorry.
No, that was great. People love hockey. Acting. So when did you guys both start acting collectively? We'll start with Jared. When did you start acting? When did you get the bug? What were you into? Who inspired you growing up?
I got mono because I was smooching a girl. You know, I learned the hard way. Mom and Dad said that she wasn't a winner. She wasn't the right one for me, and she gave me mono. And it was around that time, you know, I was couch ridden and unable to play hockey because my spleen was enlarged. And in that time, I watched Rushmore for the first time. I watched Snatch for the first time, and Gangs of New York came along a little bit after that. I'd say like if I didn't kiss Melanie and get mono, maybe I wouldn't be an actor today.
Your life has a totally different course, potentially.
Yeah, you know.
That's kind of sweet, actually.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
It is
Wherever
nice.
Melanie is now, hopefully she's still with us.
Yeah.
And the mono didn't get her too bad. But here's the question.
She's not like dead or anything. That's not good.
When you saw those movies, like you said, Rushmore, or Gangs of New York, or Snatch, was it the acting that you were drawn to, or are you sort of looking at the whole picture? Because obviously you write the show.
Yeah, the individual performances for sure. Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray in Rushmore, and then you've got that Brad Pitt iconic performance in Snatch. That
accent,
character who's saying whatever. But the influence from those two movies specifically comes out in Letterkenny so much. You know, like what Wes Anderson and Guy Ritchie both do is they set up these like music video sequences. There's no sound. The sound drops out. You've got a character walking in slow-mo, and you've got the song playing. The song tells the story of the picture. There's no words. We do that in Letterkenny quite a bit. We have a lot of slow-mo walks to music. There's no other sound, and just let the song tell the story and the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, massive influences in both acting and filmmaking there.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate, how did you come to acting?
I don't know. So growing up, I used to do like one of my favorite things was to watch movies over and over and over and over again and pretend that I was somebody in that movie and just do the entire movie kind of just by myself, talking back and forth like a total weirdo. And I think that's where it sort of got to me. I did some like odd sort of community theater stuff when I was really young.
Oh, so you were doing theater
a little bit,
seeking it out.
Yeah, but not even seeking out, just knowing that this was kind of fun and look at this, I can be a goof and people will still, you know, they're still watching me and stuff like that. So I really liked that. And then I got out of high school and I stopped. I was competitively snowboarding for a long time before that. And I kind of wanted something different, and I thought, you know what, this is something I've always really liked doing. I love movies and, you know, the idea of telling a story, and it's fun, and you get to see it up, you get to see your finished product up on the screen, and I love that stuff. And so I figured, well, instead of studying English at the University of Calgary, which was getting to me, I was like, you know what, if I want to get serious about this and get into the business, I need to go to school for it, you know. And so I figured, well, screw it, I'm going to go to film school, and then after that I went to theater school, and that was kind of that. I was just like, this is so much fun. And then after doing real live theater, not like a bunch of little kids running around with animal costumes on or something like that, then I was just like, this is it. And it was so much fun that's kind of when it started. So that was like 2003 it started, and sort of, and then 2004 I was like, well, screw this, I'm going for it.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
all the time.
I'm going to
try
it, or I'm going to give it a go to do it full time.
Yeah.
Because everybody is just like, yeah, I'm going to totally do this. And it's like, no, if you really want to, you're going to try and get rejected a million billion times. But I was just like, well, screw it, I'm going to give it a go.
How did you two come together?
Well, it kind of leads into the end of Dalesy's story, because when he came back to Vancouver, the first that I heard of Dalesy was there was this comedy night at Montmartre on
Cafe Montmartre.
Yeah,
yes.
there was this comedy
Up
night
Main
there
Street, yeah.
where there was this troupe called
Bronx Cheer Comedy.
Bronx
was
Cheer
a couple of
Comedy.
buddies of ours. Yeah.
Big hitters in the Vancouver comedy scene, and they did it better than anybody. So it got to be like a big like a bit of a hipster hangout, like anytime they were doing a show. So I'd go in there with my fedora and deep V, and Dalesy was in one of their sketches, one of these videos that they'd done, and then there was also a web series that they produced called Friends Like These that Dalesy was into. So that's the first I'd heard of him.
Yeah.
And then we kind of started working together at the same bar, kind of.
Yeah. We sort of hooked up at the bar, but a little bit of staggered, right? So Jared was working there, and then I kind of started working there, and he came out or whatever, and then, so that's where we picked it up.
Did you connect sort of immediately on a friendship level, like same sort of mentality when it comes to comedy?
It was a Calgary Flames level. I got to be honest, that was sort of the first thing, and then it was just Jared had some pals that I was pals with and stuff, and then it was just well, this guy's a nice goof, and I'm a goof, so it kind of worked like that. And it was just all right.
Yeah,
let's have at her.
Yeah, I may have mentioned this already, but there's 6 dudes from our cast in Letterkenny who all played on the same beer league team out west.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's 6 of us, right?
Yeah.
So we were all buddies long before this and everything, and it's you're just going to work to hang out with your buddies every day.
I was going to ask that about the cast. I mean, when you're casting this, so you create this thing, you start writing this. You two are obviously a big part of it, because this was originally Letterkenny Problems, which was on YouTube. When you get the show and then you start filling out a larger cast, was it ever a consideration I'm going to cast real actors, not that people aren't real actors, or I want to work with my buds and I want to work with my friends, and this whole thing is going to be an endeavor that is for me and my friends?
Yeah, well, one thing I can say very concretely is that in every instance, the best auditioner got the part. A statement about the bed we're in here at Bell, Dalesy and Dylan Playfair, who I'll call DP, and Andrew Herr, who I'll call Hersey. We were all in the web series together, right?
Yep.
So we had this episode called Hockey Players that's at more than 4 million views now. So when we got this show deal, I said to the people at Bell, I was listen, you've pre-approved me. You're obviously you're not going to have a casting call audition for this part. Dalesy, DP, and Hersey were as big a part of this as I was, and I don't think it's fair that they should have to hear from their buddies that people are auditioning for their part and stuff. And Bell says absolutely, we're on board with that. So they pre-approved 4 of us without auditions. That's something that never happened.
No, those roles were locked.
Yeah.
You two and then the hockey.
But it's also I think fair to note as well. I have an acting background. Jared has an acting background, and so did DP and Hersey. Those guys. I mean, while we're playing on the same beer league hockey team together, those guys are actors anyway. So it's not just they just picked up and were oh, well, let's do this. They're trained and accomplished actors too. So the fact that we all play on the same beer league team together is pretty cool and pretty interesting. But at the same time, you're not just hiring a schlub off the street.
It's not a group of amateurs just
exactly. Nutsacks we found on the street. But also, this is great because Hersey and DP were living together at the time. And they both get calls from their agents saying that they've been cast to play the Howe brothers in the Gordie Howe story. So these two had already worked together on a TV movie. Yeah. They're roommates.
And they're living together.
And they're living together. So,
and playing hockey players.
Yes.
Speaking of Bell, because that's always sort of really fascinating transition, I guess, for me whenever I talk to creatives is... So you guys have this sort of small thing that blows up on the internet, and then something like CraveTV or Bell comes along and they say, hey, we want to work together. This is going to obviously provide an amazing opportunity, these 6 episodes and who knows what beyond. When you're making the decision to then get in bed with a massive media company, is there any trepidation? Is there any fear? Is there any compromise? Does it even cross your mind? Or are you shit, I like all opportunities?
Yeah, at the risk of blowing smoke here, we couldn't have asked for a better outfit than the comedy department at Bell. Everybody who's developing, and even right to the top with Mike Cosentino, everybody has done exactly what they said they were going to do, and that's support our vision. Our vision for it. Everybody's gotten behind it, but our options were limited, right? Like if we were going to take this from YouTube into 2-minute shorts into like a 30-minute episodic, we had to be able to say the F word as many times as we wanted. Like it is a fundamental element, that word to our storytelling. And so, there aren't many homes for us, like Bell had 3, like Bell's got HBO, they've got the movie network, you can get away with it on comedy, but then, when Crave came along, it's just, and to also be there, it's a perfect fit, and also be their first original program, we just don't really quite understand how we got so lucky in this,
Even something like smoking. You guys are smoking.
Always
in this
smoking,
series.
always drinking, yeah.
And it's but you don't see that at all on TV. But I guess it adds a layer of authenticity to what these characters are like whether it's the F-bombs or just them smoking. And so along the way, there was never any sort of compromise. It was always just hey, you guys do you. This is what we're into from the start, and then we'll allow you to sort of do it.
We cruise the line. I don't think that we ever go over it, but there was never, and unless it was something like we had to create Super Bowl ads, they're
Sure.
kind of sensitive because it's a family audience, 6 million people, but for the actual show there was no reeling in whatsoever, and we took some ridiculous concepts to them, just disgusting scarring material to them, and there was never any bounce back. We have a theme. We have kind of a recurring bit, a recurring storyline. There's these 2 hicks who are rumored to have f***ed an ostrich, and it's just so funny, so unintentionally hilarious to go into a meeting with our Bell execs. We've got Kara Halflinson, Bill Lundy, we've got Corey Coe and Sarah Fowley, and Corey Coe to just sit there with a completely straight face. She's like, so is the ostrich going to be in every episode? Does the ostrich, or is there just talk of the ostrich getting in this episode? Just completely straight face,
as if they're talking
just
about
dying. This is the raddest conversation I've ever had in my life.
It's the sweetest bit of deadpan comedy you've ever seen. Yeah.
You also act on a drama. You star on 19-2.
Yep.
Do you find as an actor, I don't know, you always hear different sort of different actors have different takes, but do you find it difficult to toggle between comedy and drama?
Well, yes. I think that if I was just acting in the 2, it might not be so tough. But for Letterkenny, I write it as well, So when I'm in the 19-2 world, I'd say it's as dark a drama as there is on Canadian TV. And Letterkenny is about as silly a comedy as there's going to be on Canadian TV. So I prioritize the people who are paying me. If I'm on 19.2, I try not to drift into the Letterkenny world at all. If I'm on Letterkenny, I don't drift into the 19.2 world at all. It's not wise, I don't think.
You can really get your wires crossed pretty easily. And also too, pay due attention to the project that you're working on, and we've always talked about that, and it's I think it's held up.
Yeah, hell,
for you,
work isn't falling out of the sky in Canada. So if you aren't, if
you can get it,
if you can't focus on an incredible opportunity that you've been given that so many would crawl over broken glass for, then you are some kind of nutsack.
You're a big nutsack if you don't understand where the opportunity is and how lucky you are, and especially to do something 19.2 is completely different. To do something like Letterkenny where I get to work with my buddies basically, and everybody puts their fucking grit and their knuckles into everything, right? But it's just it's just fun. And it's just when the hell do you get an opportunity like that? So it's just number 1, count your lucky stars. Number 2, count them again. And then try and bust your ass for it to make sure that it stays around for as long as possible.
Lastly, what are both your hopes for Letterkenny beyond these 6 episodes? We'll start with you.
I'd have to say 25 seasons, 6-7 movies. I don't know. You know what? The first season is awesome, and you know what? Coming back to do a second season would be that's the focus of where my thoughts are right now, and it's sort of in development. It doesn't have a green light or anything like that, but right now that would be the thought, and then kind of just take it as it goes, because if you start thinking feel like if you start going like, oh yeah, I'd love to do it, 6-7 seasons, this and that, and you start getting ahead of yourself, and it's just like, but there's so much work involved before you can start thinking about that. So right now, second season, that's exactly what I'd like to see happen right now, and then go from there. Because then if it picks up popularity, you can think of maybe a few more down the road, or not, or whatever. And also too, the other shoe could drop at any minute, and you never know. So I think focusing on whatever you want to call it, positive vibes or whatever for season 2, that's exactly where my hopes lie right now. Absolutely.
I'd ask you the same, and also, I guess as a follow-up, if you could only do one, writing or acting, what you would choose. But first, we'll start for your hopes for Letterkenny.
Well, my hopes for Letterkenny are pretty simple. Like I've been down to LA, I've done pilot season a couple times, and I have no desire to ever go back. I don't. I think people are weird down there. I think it's too hot. It shouldn't be hot all the time. You should have 4 different seasons. So what I'm after is longevity in the Canadian industry. That's what I want. I want to have a career here. I want to have some stability here. So if Letterkenny can provide that, then it's worth its weight in gold. And the other question was
acting or writing.
Actually, just before you get to that, that's such an interesting thing. So like, I feel like a lot of Canadian entertainers, whether it's music or acting or writing or directing, they all sort of have this eye on America. It's sort of this big, the white whale. I mean, just hearing the way you talk, and you guys are both such like, it seems staunch Canadians. Like, is an eye not there? Is it like, let's build something here, that's the goal?
The Canadian industry gets slammed so much for not having a star system, for its inability to make people famous, to create stars. I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with what we're doing up here. If you want to be famous, go work at it down in LA. You'll be famous, you'll be overwhelmed, you'll be swamped, you just turn into a shell of a person, We're doing things right up here. We're judged more by the work than our fame, than our star meter, Like, you get noticed, like, if your work is good up here, And I think we have to work a little harder. Also, the Canadian industry it's given me everything that I have. I started from scratch. I didn't know anybody. I worked my way up, and I just as soon stay here and keep contributing to it.
All right, well, we'll finish. If you could only do one, acting or writing, what would you do?
Acting for sure, no question.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Welcome to the dessert. We got Shane here. Shane's in the studio. Max, you excited to have Shane in the studio?
Very excited to see my boy.
Shane, are you excited to be in the studio?
I am actually, yeah. I feel good.
How you been? Off the top of the show, Max and I talked about curling, getting very drunk, watching SNL performances. One of the sad things about that night, though, was that you were not there.
I missed out. I feel like I've been missing out on a lot of stuff lately.
You have a reputation. Do you know that?
Really?
Yeah, for as soon as you get a girlfriend, not showing up.
Oh, Max, you went there.
Yeah.
Like, am I worse than Sean Dawson?
No, Dan Hamilton just says that about you.
What about, just in your opinion, am I worse than Sean or Peak?
I don't think you're worse than anybody in particular, because I feel like everybody does that.
Okay.
I don't think it's specific to you.
I had a shoot.
But Dan gets very angry when his friends don't come to things, and he feels like people aren't pulling their weight in the friendship.
Especially when like you're single, and if your marriage fell apart or whatever, you're going to, and you're hypothetically speaking, and you're like lonelier. No, I find if you're single, and your friends are not single, you kind of resent them.
Yeah,
but if you're all in a relationship, like when I'm in a relationship, I want my friends to be in a relationship.
Yeah,
when I'm
it's easier
single,
for
I want my
everybody.
friends single.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be single around you at the same time. It's too competitive.
Years ago, at actually Dan Hamilton's bachelor party, we're in Cuba. There's like this girl there that's kind of pretty.
And there was about probably 6 single guys.
Yep.
And Shane, you basically like belittled or like elbowed all those guys out of the way. So
You picked them all off one by one.
And you are hard to compete with, when it
You'd
comes
been drinking for 4 days straight. All your jokes were landing. You were on fire.
Yeah, but also being a little too mean, just crossing the line.
Well,
and making fun of people's like worst insecurities.
Well, if I'm like desperate to get with someone, my brain, honestly, without me even trying, will go into autopilot.
Yeah, you.
So I was just like on fire, like zinging them and like just fucking around with people in such a weird way. They don't know if I'm insulting or being lovable or whatever.
I think by the end, all of our single guy friends knew you're just being insulting.
Yeah. This is how I justify it.
And then everybody just sort of
after.
like shrugged their shoulders and like turned around and went back to their hotel room.
Yeah, they just gave up.
They just gave up.
But
yeah,
who f***ed her on the beach? It was awesome.
So you gained the girl, but you lost a couple friends.
Hold on. Can you say, but who ended up smooching with her?
Can we keep that in mind? What is this, the 1950s?
Well, kids might be listening
wait.
to this show.
But who ended up smooching with her? Is that how we say it, where the public believes us?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I got a big smooch. And I was terrified because that smooch made me feel a little weird when I got back. And then I had to get tested. But yeah, everything was good.
Oh, man.
And we're gearing up for another bachelor party. Which
Bahamas,
I'm sure
baby.
your fiance is glad to hear.
Yes, we are all going on my bachelor party to the Bahamas in May.
Are you in or out, Max?
I think I'm going to be in. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Shake it.
Did you know that, Mike?
Yeah, I knew he was leaning towards it.
Yeah, no, I just had to make sure the band calendar was free, and then I'm good to go.
Well, anything else going on, Shane? You seen anything you like recently?
Yeah. To keep with the theme of this end part, I saw the series Love.
Judd
Netflix.
Apatow.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm not sure if you guys have seen any episodes.
Gillian Jacobs is it. The trailer looked awesome.
Dan
She's
Hamilton.
fucked up in it.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's way different than you're used to seeing her. It's more of like she's kind of a loser. She's like a
Down in her luck, made
Yeah.
some poor choices.
yeah, and the main guy, he's what's that movie? I Love You, Beth Cooper.
Okay.
He's in that film. Not sure if you've seen it, but he looks like almost like a caricature of what a nerd would be. Like literally a drawn out character. Like you can't almost take him seriously for the first 2 episodes. He looks like such a fucking goof. But then you grow to like understand how a girl would be attracted to him and how he could be kind of like the leading man in this series. It was very cool about like how people meet and fall in love and the problems that happen when you're on a date or getting to know someone.
Is it like Master of None at all? I've heard that.
No,
comparison.
Master of None is very like it creates its own world for itself, and the acting's kind of bad in an endearing way at times. This is very real
Okay.
and very Hollywood centric because that's where it's set.
Oh, it's set in Hollywood. Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Speaking
But
of,
it's cool. It like lets you into a world that you might not normally see. Like that, he works on the Warner Brothers lot. That's not true. He works on a lot of like a studio. But
Cool.
for a show.
Is it 10 episodes?
Yes, I fell asleep to the last one last night.
So you got through 9 episodes, though.
Yeah, I started early. I actually watched 2 with Alex.
Yep.
And then told her I'd watch the whole series with her, and then cheated on her. And then the next night, I just went through 8 and fell asleep at 2 a.m. to the last one.
And you'd recommend it?
I think it's really good. Yeah.
hey, have you guys
sure.
seen?
By the end of it, even though Gillian Jacobs' character was messed up, were you attracted to her?
You hate her at some points in it, and not even like, oh, she's like a druggie. It's like, because there's not explicit drug scenes, but you hate her because she's so annoying at times, and then you'll come around to like her, and you're unsure if you like her. So you really see her through the prism of the main character.
The protagonist's eyes. You see what he's falling in love with or disliking.
Yeah.
In real time.
Wait till you see this guy.
I
He's
can't
so
wait to see
goofy looking.
this show.
Yeah.
have you guys seen People versus O.J. Simpson yet?
No.
I can't take Cuba as not Cuba. He looks
have
nothing.
you watched it?
No. Can you take Cuba as not Cuba?
Yeah, I can get into him as O.J. No problem.
Does he act at all, or is it like, oh, it's Cuba saying stuff?
No, he kind of. It's a little bit of Cuba saying stuff, but it kind of works. I don't know.
Get an actor who looks like, it's not like Cuba, his career is on fire and it's like, we gotta cast Cuba. Get someone who looks like OJ, and you still got John Travolta and all these other actors.
Yeah, it's a weirdly casted show, and the acting is not always great, but it's pretty compelling. And the thing which I'll say, because I listened to an interview, because the show is based on a book written by Jeffrey Toobin, who's a New Yorker writer who wrote a book about the whole trial, it's like the run of his life or something like that, the O.J. Simpson trial. Mm-hmm. And the movie talks a lot. Sorry, I guess the book talked a lot about Robert Kardashian and his young family. And in the TV show, they kind of have a lot of like winks at the camera because Robert Kardashian was a very like religious, kind of humble, quiet, private man. But he was married to Kris Kardashian, who is basically a celebrity like wannabe. And I think by that point it was already married to Bruce Jenner. And in the show, Robert Kardashian's saying something to his young children. It's like, it's the only thing that's important is to be kind to people and to work hard. And there's a few moments where it's like, where they like inserted dialogue just about like what a virtuous man he was and how he tried his best to impart that sort of wisdom.
Well,
and
we
ideals.
all know how that story ends.
Yeah, and then we all know it's like the Kardashians are literally the worst family.
Is it done for laughs though? In a way?
It's done for a total wink at the camera because there's so many characters and players. Like, there's no reason
There's
why
no
they
reason to have time looking like having an interaction with him and his kids. He's such a tertiary character anyway in all of the events.
There's like Cochran, there's O.J. Simpson's family, there's
Marcia Clark.
There's all these people. So the fact they spend like this extra time with Kardashian and like his kids at breakfast or whatever is really fun.
Does Schwimmer pull it off?
Yeah, I like Schwimmer in it. I don't know. I'm kind of into the show.
So Max, what are you giving this show?
So far, 10 out of 10, man.
My goodness. He's an easy 10. But yeah, is there anything more to talk about? Shane's saying see love. Max is saying see the OJ show. I'm saying see you in the Bahamas. Yeah. That's it. That's all. Thank you for listening. What do we normally say?
We say please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. You can find us at much.com/Mike on Much. Subscribe to us on iTunes and leave a comment, leave a rating. If you have any questions, concerns, hit us up. We read all of it.
Concerns?
Yeah, concerns. People are concerned about Shane.
Yeah, that's true. All the artwork is done by Jenna Gregory of
Jenna. You can find her stuff at jennadoodles.com.
Nailed that one.
Yep.
The Mike on Much podcast is produced by Max Kerman, and I am your host, Mike Veerman. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.